about how they're going to make it. And the Bible talks about people like you. He says it's a sin when you worry and have yourself full of anxiety, because it points to a fact that you really don't trust God the way you see the salvation of the Lord, which He will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. This is Stand Still, part 2, for some of you who heard the message on Thursday night where God blessed me. I will say this, and I have assessed the world that we're living in today, and everybody in the whole world today is in a panic. People are in an uproar. People are unstable because of financial and spiritual situations. It seems like the world is in an unrest. Nobody is walking around with the peace of God, and especially when it comes to Christians, Christians are not walking around exhibiting and exemplifying the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. I've never talked to so many saints today who are walking around in a state of depression and a state of discouragement, and yet you have the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords dwelling on the inside of you, and you can't seem to get your day together and your act together, and you don't even know and realize who it is that is living in you. God began to speak to me and began to say, share with your people throughout the whole year that they are to stand still and stop panicking. It's interesting because God began to bring back the scripture to my mind that says that men's hearts shall fail them from fear. And this was a particular Hebrew idiom. It was a saying that they had back there that literally were men's hearts going to fail them, but because of all of the situations that were around them that they were facing, it was going to be tantamount to having a heart attack and dying. That's what we call stress today. Everybody today is stressed out about their finances, stressed out about how they're going to make it. And the Bible talks about people like you. He says it's a sin when you worry and have yourself full of anxiety, because it points to a fact that you really don't trust God the way you say you trust Him. If I'm going to bed at night and I lay down at 11 and don't go till 2 because I'm worrying, and you're telling God that, God, really, I don't believe what you say that you are and what you say you can do. It's interesting that He says men's hearts shall fail them from fear. And I believe today that a lot of people are dying before their time because they're not in relationship with the Lord. I went on a call the other day of a young man, 39 years old, who was married, had a master's degree, went to school with him, knew him, and because of his circumstances and him not being in relationship with the Lord, he took matters into his own hands and took a gun and shot himself in his front yard of his house, almost literally in front of his wife. The Bible talks about men's hearts are going to fail them from fear. He had been unemployed since August, and things were tight in his life. And that's why I say to you, you need to thank God for the piece of job that you have. I'm tired of folk around here complaining about what they're not going to work. This man had a master's degree and could not find a job. Oh, look up to heaven and say, Lord, I thank you for my job. Yeah. Folks are so deep today. God has the best for me. God said, just work. And when you work, I'll multiply it for you. He talks about how tough it is, and the world is in a panic. And that's why Jesus says, when I come back to this world, will I find men having faith, or will I find them walking in fear? That's why you have to learn how to pace yourself and learn how to stand still and stop running to everybody who is prophesying and everybody who has a word. And baby, get your word out of the word of words, and you'll never go wrong. Y'all quiet on me today. Don't nobody want to hear this kind of talking today. I'm not letting everybody prophesy and lay hands on me and throw it all on me and tell me something good and soothing for my soul, because that might not be what I really need to hear. Oh God. And it's interesting when you begin to look at this text, because as I was talking on Thursday, that when God had delivered Israel out of the mighty grips of the hand of Egypt, he now takes them on a journey. Shout out journey. You have to understand in this life that you are on a journey on your way to heaven or on your way to hell if you're not in relationship with the Lord. They were on a journey, and if they were on a journey, that means that God is the one who ordained the journey that they should be in and that they should be on. He tells them now, as they are leaving Egypt and on their way to the promised land, he says, I want you to pitch your tents in a particular place that I will tell you. And I talked about last Thursday that he told them to pitch between Baal-Zephon and Pi-Hahiroth. And it's interesting when you begin to look at the names in the Bible. Names mean something. I don't know what we're doing today. We're just naming our kids anything. But back in the Bible days, names had meaning and significance. And that's why you don't see nobody naming their baby Job. I ain't met a Job yet walking around on the earth, because Job was not a name you wanted to name your baby. I don't think nobody has named, I know anybody, and I'm 47, that has named their baby Job, because they read the Bible and said Job is not a good name. Are y'all with me here today? And so anyway, he talks about pitching between these two particular cities. Now you have to understand that if he tells them to pitch there, now you have to understand the geographics. They were not completely out of the Egyptian territory. They had to cross the Red Sea in order to get out of the Egyptian territory. And so it doesn't seem like God would tell them to stop while they are on their way into the promised land and to some freedom, to stop right in the enemy's camp. Pi-Hahiroth was a fortress. That's what it was. It was a fortress for Egypt because it had a great mountain, and it was hard for anybody to invade them without them being able to prepare to fight them. It was a mighty stronghold for the Egyptian forces. And he says, this is what I want you to do. I want you to pitch before the strongest thing that the Egyptians have to defend them against Asian invasion. And then he says, I want you to pitch against Baal-Zephon. And I begin to look up the word Baal-Zephon, and that was where they worshiped the devil, Phaeton. And so now here they are pitched between something that was very strong for Egypt, and then they were right behind people who worshiped the devil. It doesn't make sense to me that God would tell them to stop right in the middle of all of this craziness. And I want to say something to some of you today. Shout out position. It's important that you understand that how God positions you. And that's why you have to stand still so you can get some directives from the Lord on how to position yourself. Some of you may be looking at your position right now and be wondering, why am I in this situation? Why are things going crazy in my life? Why am I having so many problems in my home? Why is my marriage struggling? Why is my relationship struggling? Why are my children going crazy? Why are they not liking me on my job? The very people that I help are always trying to cut my throat. The very people that I